The dollar crash. How far could it go? Hi, it's Charlie giving you today's video. In this video, we're going to be looking at the dollar index, really, but essentially, how far could the dollar go? Now, at the point of recording this, the dollar in the very near term has got very extreme. So the sentiment towards the dollar, short-term positioning, has become quite extreme as we came into the early part of this week. So as it currently stands, I am looking for more of a retracement in the near term here, but that's not what this video is about. But before I go any further, just want to let you know there's a link in the bottom of this video in the description box about something that I've never actually done before, and you can join the wait list if you're interested in this. It's just going to be open to a small group of traders. So if you're interested in applying for this, I'm not really saying much about it here, but do check out the link in the box below. Now, the dollar index, therefore, in the near term, I think it certainly got a bit stretched. It could have gone lower, but since bottoming and turning at the beginning of this week, I think the scope is there for a bit more of a retracement or consolidation. But that's not what this video is about. This video is how much further could it go? I think all of the ducks are aligning for the dollar index to retrace further. So if I come out to this monthly chart and I zoom us out, you can see I've got a big old channel here first of all. So let's just look at this. There we go. So we're into a lovely level, roughly speaking, where we're at the whole 100 zone there for the dollar index. But there is scope from a technical and a fundamental perspective for more downside overall. So very short term, not really covering that off today, what goes on in the days and possibly even weeks ahead. We could be in for a multi-week retracement or consolidation at least. So wouldn't surprise me if we go sideways overall or pull back a bit. But again, that's not what I'm looking at. So where to? I think there's a couple of prominent points that I like on my chart, and that is this whole 92, 93 zone. The dollar as it stands has already done a 38% retracement. If we come down to the 93 zone, it's a nice price level, but it's also a 50% retracement of the lows there in 2007-8 to the highs of 2022. So that's the 50% retrace here, and it comes in quite nicely with a load of historical price action there. So that's a nice level. And then ultimately, I see of course, there's going to be lots of bumps and lumps along the way, but I am seeing the scope for further. What is that level? So the next levels, and like I've said, I think the fundamental backdrops are there. If we do start breaking down, we're still waiting for that now. I'm anticipating, as I've said, all right, this is a monthly chart, but I'm anticipating potentially a multi-week consolidation because you get that after big moves. But I'm at least anticipating that. But we're talking big picture here. The scope thereafter actually is right the way down here at 80. So that's effectively 2,000 pips lower than where we currently are. You translate that across into the likes of, for example, the euro-dollar contract. That would put the euro-dollar right up here in somewhere in the 130 to 135 zone. So now that, when we're talking about that, that could be 2 years away, something like that. But I'm just giving you that big picture potential. But in the near term, bringing it back to the dollar index in the shorter term, There's always going to be levels where, like this trend line of this lovely channel that we've got here, that I would expect, if price at some points gets down to this channel trend line, probably bounce there as well. So there's always multiple levels where you're expecting and anticipating price to bounce around. But the bigger picture, the medium term picture, does support right now with the events that are going on in the world. Tariffs, of course, but it's more than just tariffs. It's relationships with other economies around the world, with all economies in the US, and I think the US would quite like a slightly weaker dollar. The dollar is still very much overvalued anyway relative to some of these other currencies. So the pieces are in place for maybe a slightly more gentle move down in the dollar than we've just seen in the last few weeks, but nevertheless a continuation overall to some lower levels. We'll see about the absolute levels down there at 80, but absolutely do I see the scope to come down to that 50% retracement zone and this price area here around the 93 zone, 93, 92, about 93 zone. Then yes, that's still a long way away from where we're at. So keep that at the back of your mind with regards to projections. Do check out that link at the bottom and get yourself on that wait list for the very special thing that we've got lined up. Have a lovely day. We'll see you at the weekend.